Movement is medicine. That phrase came to mind multiple times during the conversation with my guest this week. It's the idea that the more you move, the more you reduce your risk for diseases like type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. But movement also helps manage health conditions like depression, anxiety, and the condition we talk about in this episode, which is arthritis. My guest today is Travis Chapman, the founder of RUCKFWD and the creator of the Ruck Arthritis Challenge. In this episode, Travis shares his inspiration behind RUCKFWD. You'll hear how he's using the rucking community to raise awareness, encourage movement, and support arthritis research. We also talk about discovering rucking later in life, using movement to improve physical and mental health, and what it's like living alongside someone battling chronic arthritis pain. Welcome to the Rucker's Edge podcast, a show all about rucking that is designed to help you improve your rucking routine, lose weight, and ultimately gain your strength and energy back. Each episode dives into the science, stories, and strategies behind rucking. You'll learn from top ruckers, coaches, health experts, and performance specialists who break down what it takes to train smarter, recover faster, and stay ready for the next challenge. So whether you're new to rucking or an experienced rucker that's already logged hundreds of miles, this is the show for you. I'm your host, Spencer. Thanks for listening in. Please enjoy my conversation with Travis Chapman from RUCKFWD. Travis, thanks so much for joining me here on the Rucker's Edge podcast. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. This is great. I'm excited you're doing it. It's awesome.
So a mutual friend introduced us, and Kayla, and you were just on her podcast. Really great episode, and I think it's going to be sort of more of the same. I really enjoyed hearing your purpose, and I want to kind of dive deeper into that right now. So before we get into rucking specifically, I kind of want to talk about your fitness background, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What did your relationship with fitness look like, I guess, like growing up and then entering adulthood?
Okay. Well, when I was younger, played a lot of different sports, some organized, some not. Usually the two big ones were football and basketball. I can't say I was really great or good at either one of them, you know? I mean, I played, like I said, organized sports for a while up until about high school or so. And then on the just on your own kind of thing in the neighborhood, running around, you know what I mean, pick up games, stuff like that. Some of the more interesting times were actually, I grew up in Maine, and so in the winters, obviously it snows and you got all that going on, and sometimes we'd go out in the snow and you're tackling each other into, piles of snow and things like that. It was just fun, it was just something cool to get outside. And then as I've gotten older, and, it's one of those things where I mentioned this to Kayla, it's like, exercise has kind of been hit or miss with me. Like maybe let's join a gym, beginning of the year kind of thing, right? Let's go try that. Maybe a couple months, maybe if that, you know what I mean? And same with like other types of just exercise things. And then a year ago, basically found rucking and haven't looked back. Like, I don't know what it is about it. Can't exactly put my finger on what has clicked, you know what I mean? But it's clicked. So, just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I'm sort of in that same boat. It's like I can't tell you how many times I've had a New Year's resolution to be like, all right, this is the year. I'm taking my health back. I'm gonna get in the gym, and then by early February, just like 75% of the people in the United States that have that goal no longer going to the gym anymore. Yeah. And also found rucking and found it to be sustainable. And I kind of want to let's talk about that. So how did rucking enter your life? Like, how did you get introduced to it?
Yeah, so I found GORUCK online, and I just saw the name GORUCK, and I was like, GORUCK? Like, what is this? Not that I hadn't heard of a ruck or rucking, but it was more like GORUCK. You kind of go, what is this? And so I immediately went on their website, started seeing kind of how they are, what they do, what it's about. And then I watched a bunch of their videos on their YouTube channel because I was just so intrigued by it. I don't know what it was about it. And the culture, community aspect of it was kind of interesting to me that they talk about. And so I took a look at all that stuff, and then I just kind of made up my mind that day I'm going to go ruck. And in the past, or in my normal life as a job, things like that, I have a camera bag that's loaded with gear, might weigh 20, 25 pounds. And depending on the shoot, I might be carrying a backpack around like if I'm on the road or something. So I have rucked technically, before.
Sure.
But never really thought about it as like a thing, to go do. And so that day I took the camera bag I had, loaded it up with gear, and it was about 20, 25 pounds. And I went out to this spot that I, kind of knew was pretty much a mile, a little over a mile. And I just rucked that 1 mile, and that was it. And I said, yeah, I'm going to do this again tomorrow. And so then from there, it was pretty much just every day. Like, unless something came up and I couldn't do it, I'd just go. And I was using that same gear for probably about 2 months. And the only thing that changed was around that time, GORUCK had their like winter or Christmas in July sale. So I ended up buying some gear from them. I didn't get a bag at that point, but I did get some weights. And I took an older camera bag I had because I didn't want to ruin the one I was using, even though probably from a technical standpoint, it was a better structured bag. And put it in one of those old bags. And I used that for, like I said, about 2 months. And then in September, I got a Rucker 4.0 and switched over to that. And man, what a difference. Like, I knew it would feel better, I hoped, but when I put that thing on for the first time with the weight in there, I was like, oh my God, this is so much better.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
It really is. But yeah, and then I've just been doing it ever since. And, I've done a few 5Ks, events, things like that. I actually just did this one a couple of weeks ago out in St. Augustine. It was actually a run or walk, and I did it as a ruck with, I think I had like 40 pounds. Actually had my best time. I really tried to push myself on it. I did about I think it was like 13 minutes or so a mile, something like that. It was kind of crazy.
Nice.
But anyways, it was fun. But yeah, I've just been doing that ever since. And like I said, the only time it kind of shifts is if like something happens and it's just not going to work out that day, then I might, say, okay, I'm just going to call it a day and be good with things,
Yeah.
But on a quick side note, for Kayla's ruck in January, which was the ruck 10 times, you pick the date, weight, all that kind of stuff. I actually, when I saw that in December, I said, I'm going to do this. And the way my schedule was lining up, I was going to be on the road for almost a week in the first week of January. So I said, I'm going to start on the 1st here in Florida, did 2 days of rucking in Florida, 2 days in Texas, 2 days in Georgia, and then 2 or 3 rucks back here. And in the stuff on the road was back in the backpack again. So it was back with camera gear in the bag, and I just found a spot that looked pretty good. It was about 1 or 2 miles is what I made it into, maybe 2 or 3 mile thing. But that one was fun. It was a cool one to do just because of that. It's like, okay, this would be kind of neat. Do it somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So you started out going a mile, and then how quickly did you progress? Did you start going faster? Okay. Did you start going longer? How did you progress in your rucking journey, I guess?
Yeah. So basically, my whole approach to this, just as sort of a disclaimer for how I'm doing it, was I'm going to take this super slow. And the reason why is I was worried about if I went out and everybody tells you kind of in their stuff too, like on GORUCK's page, like they're, don't go out with 100 pounds and then wonder why you're injured, right? Or something like that. So I tried to keep it simple, tried to keep it in a place where, okay, like for instance, just as a quick snapshot, I was with that 20 pounds for probably about a month, and then I had these little weights that I'd kind of throw in there, and I moved up to a 30-pound plate, and then by the time, I guess it was like fall, maybe around the time I did the first 5K ruck, that was an event, a virtual event. I think it was probably around 40 pounds or so, somewhere in that range. And then I kept that on for probably another 2 months, As far as the pace I didn't mess with too much. I try to go faster and stuff, but I was mostly concerned with either shifting the weight or the distance I'd go. And then I did a 5K in November, and at that point I was up to 45 pounds up at the headquarters in GORUCK in Jacksonville. And it was a 5K, but it was kind of like a scavenger hunt 5K. I didn't quite grasp all this until I got there. And so if you don't, just a side note, if you don't enter the address right, you're going to have a hard time figuring out why you can't find this thing. And that's what I did on one of them.
Oh, man.
So I ended up walking like probably more closer to like 4.5, almost 5 miles to find all these points, And so anyways, needless to say, I get back and I realized that because I knew I did. I'm like, there's no way that was 3 miles,
Yeah.
And it got me thinking, I'm going to just try and just see how far I go next week with 45 pounds. So on that Sunday, I just took the 45 pounds, went out and basically did 7.5 miles. So it was about a 12K. And then since that time, I've done some other challenges like that, whether it be like I'll just go into trails and just do trails and see how far I go on that. And now I'm just kind of at a point where like essentially I'm back to rucking every day, even though after I had read Kayla's book, I was doing a break thing for a while. And as I kind of told her on her podcast, I said, I tried it for a couple weeks. I said, and on those days where I was taking a break, I was going nuts. Like I'm just like,
Right.
I just gotta go do a mile. Like if I just go do a mile, even with 20 pounds, I'll be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I shifted it up. And basically what I've done now is I'll have days that are purposely like I'm gonna go out and go heavy, go long, that kind of thing. And then other days where it's like, okay, like yesterday, I'm just gonna go do a mile. You know what I mean? It was just one of those days I thought like I'm just doing a mile. And that's kind of how I do it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But that's kind of how it sort of progressed.
Oh, that's great. So it sounds like you're being very consistent and that you're getting out there every day. And
Yeah.
I'm similar to you. If I don't move,
Mm-hmm.
if I don't rock, if I don't run or move my body in any way,
Yeah.
I kind of not get stir crazy, but
Yeah.
I just my body needs it, my mind
Yeah.
needs it. It's just I'm a different person if I'm not doing something physical. But let's move on to ruck forward.
When it comes to ruck forward and what that is, that was just an idea I had like a few months back. It was just, I thought it was a cool idea, the abbreviation of forward in there, all that kind of stuff. I just thought it was kind of cool, but I didn't know what I would do with it. I just was like, I don't know what I'd do at this point with something like that. And so I just kind of left it alone, and wrote it down somewhere. And then about a month or so ago, maybe a little less now, and I thought of the whole Ruck Arthritis idea. One of the things we do, I work for a company that does implants and replacements, for people and things like that, knee, hip, that kind of thing. And, we always talk about these different things like, Arthritis Month. What are we going to post about it? What are some different things? And for some reason in one of those meetings, it just hit me like, I should tie rucking to arthritis and do something, and obviously, it was kind of one of those things that just sort of hit me. And so as I was thinking about all this, it didn't make sense to me to just do a website dedicated just to the Ruck Arthritis thing, because immediately I started thinking like, well, if this is successful, I could do this maybe with other things that I'm kind of passionate about to raise funds for those organizations. And maybe I can do this Ruck Forward thing is kind of a resource where, like, I'm not a professional. I've only been rucking just under a year. So I know for me, like people like yourself and other people that put things out there, I'm always looking for those things to watch, whether it's somebody reviewing a bag or some other component like that, like, hey, this is me rucking every day. This is why I do it, right? So Ruck Forward to me right now is, I view it as a sort of a resource for rucking, and the fact that I feel like it's something that will hopefully benefit people, get people, motivated to go out. And then the Ruck Arthritis Challenge is part of that right now, a big part of it, obviously, because of the month of May being National Arthritis Awareness Month. And so that's kind of how I'm viewing things right now, because like I said, there are some other things out there that, I started thinking about, like, oh, that would be kind of a cool thing to do, as maybe a fundraiser or something like that. Like, just as an example, we got our boxer from a rescue here in North Florida. It'd be kind of cool maybe to do a fundraiser for those guys, you know what I mean? Some kind of ruck or whatever. And so that's why I kind of did the Ruck Forward thing. And I just like the idea, too, of just behind Ruck Forward, like, you're moving forward, when you're rucking, you're hopefully leaving maybe any kind of negative stuff that's going on behind you, It's like it's a good space to kind of clear your head. Like, it's nice to just dump stuff, or just not think of anything. You just want to put some music on and just, I'm moving,
Yeah. It's really cool to hear people like yourself using platforms to create goodness within their community, whether it's a ruck club doing something for Thanksgiving or Christmas or what have you, or Green Beret Fitness does the same thing. And now I'm hearing you trying to use your platform for the betterment of your community and the little piece of the earth that you have over there. Where are you in Orlando?
I'm just north of Orlando.
Okay.
So the
Gotcha.
Gainesville area, University of Florida, that's basically where I'm at, up in that neck of the woods. Yeah.
Gainesville. Sorry, LSU fan here. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, whoa. You didn't. Okay, we're going to have to.
I should have told you that before we started recording.
Where's my gator hat? I should have.
Yeah. But I wanted to get back to something you mentioned earlier in the show. You said you work for a company that does some, what do they do? Joint replacements, or what was it that you said?
So the name of the company is Advita Ortho, And basically they do joint replacements. So they are providing the instrumentation, the technology to the surgeons, and they're the ones actually doing everything. And so I've worked with them actually going back over 10 years when I was at a production company before I started working for them directly as an employee. And so I've seen over the years like numerous testimonial videos that we've done or heard about patients that had arthritis, got a joint replaced, kind of one of those wish we had done it sooner kind of moments, right, is usually what you hear, because they're in that pain, they're struggling with it every day, can't do what they'd normally do, even if it's just as simple as literally getting up out of a chair or getting into a chair, something like that. And it was kind of funny because when we were talking about the arthritis month thing, one of the things I said in one of the meetings we had, because I'm just like, like anything, you're throwing ideas around. It's like, maybe we could do a preventative thing, and getting people not to get an implant, like not say don't get one, but like get yourself in a position where hopefully you don't need to do this, because at the end of the day, it's all done. You're feeling better when it's done typically. There, hopefully everything goes well for that patient. But, if you don't have to do those things, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably better for you. But yeah, seeing some of these people and listening to their stories over the years, there's always those moments where you're just like, wow, holy cow, I'm so lucky that I can move around and do the things I'm doing.
Right.
And one of the other things my brother said that was kind of interesting, kind of tying it back into this, is he said, because one of the, he says, Trav, one of the things I got thinking about is he's like, you're a few years older than me, and you've been out here doing this thing. And he's like, we're not getting any younger. And he's like, how many years do you have left that you can start that momentum of the movement and going and doing that, where if I wait another 5 years or whatever it is, am I going to be able to do it? You know what I mean? If I don't start now. So I thought that was an interesting perspective on it, because honestly, I wasn't really necessarily thinking about that when I started doing it. And even as I've done it, I'm glad I'm doing it. But it was kind of like, that's an interesting point. And like I mentioned, I think I mentioned this earlier, but like the idea of, if you can do some of these things, even if it doesn't have to be rucking, but it'd be awesome if it is, just getting out there with 10 pounds or 9 pounds or whatever it is, and just doing that mile or half a mile, and then just slowly ramping it up, could somebody that's prone maybe to arthritis, some form of arthritis, slow that symptom coming on, slow that pain coming to their system because they're moving, so that's something you hear a lot, people talking about, the more you're moving, that sometimes, that can help with some of these things,
Sure. Yeah. I unfortunately have arthritis in my ankle,
dear.
and I have family members that have arthritis too.
Oh, man.
And speaking with my rheumatologist, one of the first things he said is like, honestly, the term movement is medicine is not phony baloney stuff.
Yeah.
Like at my age, fortunately, I'm young enough, like you're alluding to. My body is at a stage where it's like, if I keep moving, it's actually a good thing for that condition.
Good, man.
Obviously, you don't want to do
Good
it
for
too
you.
hard, because you'll probably create a flare up. But yeah, just like start slow and start. That's why when I started rucking, I walked first. I was like, I'm not adding 50 pounds just going out for the first time. It's like I walked for like the first, I don't know, month or so, and then gradually, like I mentioned before, added weight until I'm finally at a weight that I'm really happy with. With RUCKFWD, are you trying to target anybody specifically, or are you just casting a wide net to see who's willing to participate?
Well, the way I approached the challenge was that, I got thinking about it too, because I'm like, the whole Ruck Arthritis was just something I thought was a cool name. Obviously, there's some implied things there. And, as I was talking to people about it, I said, but you don't have to ruck it. I don't care what you do. If you want to run it, if you want to walk it, that's great. And when it comes to the rucking side of things, the way I view that is like, you may or may not have an interest. Like this just happened literally yesterday. My brother, he's up in Maine still, and he's been following me, on Instagram. So he's seen the whole rucking thing, what I've been up to. And he said to me, I was kind of interested in it. He's like, but I just didn't know, if I wanted to do it, that kind of thing. And so yesterday or the day before, he had watched the interview with Kayla. And I wake up yesterday to like a bunch of messages from him. And I'm like, uh-oh, like what is going on here? And he's like, hey, I'm doing this rucking thing. He's like, I went on your site, I bought the patches. He's like, Bree and I, that's his wife, he's like, we're going to do this. And I'm like, holy cow. Like, I was just
Awesome.
like shocked, you know? And I said, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is my brother, and it is my, it's obviously family, but it's still the fact that he, because he said to me, he said, I watched the interview, and he's like, I got to be honest with you, man. He's like, I was really inspired by what you had to say. And he's like, so I just said, you know what? I'm going to go do it. And so hopefully, he'll get out there and he'll get after it and have fun with it, because the biggest thing for me is like, even if you're just getting outside and walking, you know what I'm saying? You're getting something. And especially with arthritis, just to throw that in the mix here, when I look at some of the posts I've been doing are also kind of like, I'll call it a wellness thing, but I'm not like a doctor or anything. So it's just stuff I'm seeing as far as factoids for rucking, or, maybe something interesting about arthritis that is an awareness thing. And just like, I think I posted one the other day about like bone density, is something you get or gain, I guess, through rucking. It helps to, keep that. And, you kind of wonder with people that have arthritis, if they had maybe, when they were a little younger, started doing something like this, could that have helped prevent, the onset of maybe some of the symptoms they're getting, delayed that a little bit, maybe. So that's why some of the posts I've been putting up aren't just like, me out there rucking and that kind of stuff, but there's also some of these little things. And then I like to have fun. Like today I put up a song where I'm replacing rock with ruck, that kind of thing. So just stuff that kind of is fun for me to do. So I'm hoping that by doing that maybe that will also widen the net a little bit. But, as of right now, it's probably going to be mostly people interested in rucking are going to be the first people to look at it, probably, I'm guessing, if they're like searching rucking or if it pops up. I mean, hey, just get outside is really the biggest thing.
I agree. I mean, that's so great that your brother, you hooked somebody. Like that's one of the best feelings, and especially someone that you care about. And it's like, yes, we're doing it. This is great.
Yeah. I mean, he literally made my day yesterday. It was funny because later in the day, I think I did a post about it, but I mean, just to expand on it, just a touch, it was like, I just kept thinking about it, and it just blew me away because, one, totally unexpected, did not see that coming at all, and hoping to see more of it, you know what I mean? If people get out there and do their rucks and post about it, tag us, whatever, I'm probably going to be just doing a lot of resharing and things like that, because why not? I mean, that's the whole point, in my opinion, to kind of hey, this person decided they go do it. You know what I mean? I think that's cool. So sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, that's excellent information. And you mentioned the challenge, Ruck Arthritis. Before we get into the challenge, I kind of want to understand why you chose arthritis awareness. I saw a post, I think that you put out on Instagram, saying how few rheumatologists there are. Can you kind of expand like why you chose arthritis awareness and what you found out through some research that you've been doing?
Yeah, so basically my wife has rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, and I do have other family members that have arthritis as well, but she was kind of the motivation behind the idea of that, obviously, because we live with it. We've been living with it for a while. And basically, just going back, so like, she was diagnosed several years ago with it, and she could still kind of like get around. She obviously did stuff, we'd go out, go to the beach, do different things, and then about a year ago, what they think happened was she had kind of a flare-up from maybe both the conditions at one time, where it just took her down. Like, we were in and out of the ER for a bit, and then we went to see her rheumatologist and, tried to get her squared away. Since then, she's tried a few different medications to help with the pain, and she's definitely gotten better, in terms of like, she still has pain and stuff, but she's not nearly as bad as she was like a little over a year ago. And so when I think about all that stuff, and like I said, when this idea just kind of came to me about the whole ruck arthritis idea, I said, this is what I'm going to do. And so in looking some things up, like just as an example, the one rheumatologist for roughly every 11,000 patients here in the U.S., that was a fact I got when I called basically the University of Florida, their research department for arthritis, and I got this woman who has arthritis on the phone, and she was telling me this, And I was just kind of floored, because that was another thing like early on that just kind of popped into my head, like, oh my God, like that's insane, because you're thinking, well, they're just, are they lazy in this office? Is this why we don't hear from that doctor? Or is this, you have those
Yeah.
immediate kind of things.
Yeah.
And then you start to realize they're just inundated, And so anyway, so I, put all that together. And then when I started thinking about the ruck and this idea of doing the ruck, it just kind of made sense. Like I was kind of stealing one here from the canines where they do, the whole 9K for canines, you know what I mean? And so I said, we'll do, a 1 miler for that one rheumatologist, we'll do the 5K for the month of May because that's when the awareness month is. And then the 11K is for the 11,000 patients roughly that are, suffering with this every day. And that'll be kind of the 3 things you can do. Pick any day you want, go out as many times as you want, just post about it, like have some fun posting with it. But yeah, that's really what kind of motivated that, I believe. Like I said, is just thinking about watching her and what's going on with her, and knowing that, like, looking at her, sometimes and other people that I know might be in that same condition, it's not like they've got like a cast, or some sign on that says I'm in pain right now, because she doesn't always voice it to me or say something, it's not like a thing where it's always in your face. And so it is kind of like you're always reminding yourself of that too, when you're doing different things. Because the thing I've learned probably more so in the last year is to just kind of, are you okay to do this? Do you want to do this? That kind of thing. There's a lot more checking in on things. Or if we're out doing something already, are you okay to do this? Do you want to do the other thing, or do you want to wait? Like, what do you want to do? So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that has changed a bit too. So, but yeah, that's what kind of brought this thing on. And like I said, we have the patches, because in the rucking community, that's kind of a big thing, is the whole patch thing. And I love getting patches. I think they're cool. Coincidentally, we're using, just if people are aware, like we're using the same company that does GORUCK patches. That's the company we're using for ours. So the quality will be right on par with what you'd get if you've gotten a GORUCK patch before at an event. They were great. But and there's also, I'll just throw this out there, you get a couple other goodies in your bag, when it shows up. We've got some sticker of the patch, we've got the RUCKFWD sticker, this other little version of it. So those will be in there when we ship out patches to you.
Awesome. Yeah. You mentioned something about, people with arthritis or other conditions that are, quote unquote, like invisible. Yeah. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know how much pain they're experiencing. You don't know where they, how much they slept last night because the sheet was on their foot, Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's real. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough. More with Travis in just a moment, including how to complete the challenge yourself. But first, if you know a fellow rucker that has arthritis, please consider sharing this episode with them. It might provide them some encouragement that there's a community here trying to bring awareness and help fund research for the condition. Thanks. So you mentioned the 1, 5, and 11K.
Yeah.
How do people sign up for it? What do they need to do? Do they have to track their ruck to submit data to you, or just sign up via the website?
No, basically what I'm asking people to do is, you go on the website, you purchase a patch, once you get the patch, pick whatever distance it is you want to do. If you want to do it a few times, go ahead, and then just go out there, do the stuff, do a post, hold up the patch, put it on, hashtag Ruck Arthritis. And then, after the end of, probably May or so, we're going to take all those funds that were raised from those patch sales and donate that to the University of Florida's Foundation for Arthritis Research. But the biggest thing is, just feel free to purchase a patch, go out, do a ruck, do a walk, post about it, hashtag it. And that's really it. I'm trying to keep it pretty straightforward. I'm sort of borrowing a little bit from like what Kayla did with her challenge, where it was like, just pick 10 days, a weight and a distance and go, This is a little different because we're tying some specific distances to things, but that's really it. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it right now. I was trying to keep it, because everything was kind of last minute, as simple as possible for everybody to participate in it. You know what I mean? I think because the more people we can get out there doing it is great, and then 2, talking about it, so.
I really like that framework for the challenge. It's open for pretty much every fitness level.
Yeah.
You don't have to have any experience rucking. You can do it whenever you want throughout this month. There's no time constraint. So
Yeah.
if you got time in your schedule, fit it in and just and get out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So where do you see Ruck Forward going from here? Do you have other challenges in the future that you have planned?
Yeah, I think moving forward, it's one of those things where I look at some of these other possible ideas out there. Like I know, just as an example, there's like a rheumatoid arthritis. I think it's either day or month coming up in the fall. And I believe there's one other arthritis, maybe it's World Arthritis Day, I think that's coming up as well in the fall as well. So I may do a variation of this then, and do something for it. And like I was mentioning earlier, when it comes to like, the boxer rescue, there might be some other things like that I may just decide to do it. I think what it'll come down to is just how well do we kind of pick up steam here with things and getting the word out on this one, and how successful is it? And then from there, kind of determining that. And then on the other side of it, as far as like that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with saying doing a challenge, is like I was mentioning with the whole putting out little factoids, about rucking, having some fun with it, just throwing ruck in there, maybe putting out even some posts where, hey, here's a playlist I love to listen to when I ruck, and doing those types of things, because I feel like it's just such a cool community. Because like the events I've been to at GORUCK over in Jacksonville, everyone's great. Like you talk to the people from GORUCK or just people that are there, and everyone's just willing to help out. You know what I mean? If you had like when I went to that one in the fall, I had some questions and they were right on it. Like yeah, this is what this is how you do this. And being very helpful. And I kind of feel like the Ruck Forward thing is hopefully going to kind of become like that resource maybe that is just supplementary rather to people out there doing it that might be new to it. And the other thing that I'm currently doing on the website, like for instance, on the Ruck Forward page where you can read about what this is, down at the bottom, I put out a promotion anytime I talk about GORUCK to whatever it is I'm talking about. Same with when it comes to like Kayla's book, I put that down at the bottom as a good resource for people to look into. Same with like Jocko Willink's book, Discipline Equals Freedom. That's another big one. More than likely, Rucker's Edge is going to end up in there as well, just so you know. Because,
hey,
I mean,
yeah.
Same with me promoting that stuff on my channel, because I just feel like, like some of these things, like for instance, Jocko's book, I mean, I wish I had read that years ago, but, it's just one of those things. It's just another resource, and I feel like anyone that's interested, in doing this kind of activity or, going out there and trying it, it's like, go ahead and take a look at a few things, like when my brother was talking to me yesterday about it, I told him, I said, go to their YouTube page and just kind of look around, just titles may catch your attention. They've obviously got a lot of the, I'll just call it basic stuff in there. Like, this is how how you should ruck, you put the bag on, cinch it tight, that kind of stuff. And then I said, there's just some really cool videos on there, like about the Normandy ruck they did, I think it was last year, which I thought that was one of those first videos I watched, and I was just blown away. Like I was just like, wow, this is cool. It's so cool. Cause I was once again, just getting introduced to what they do, and that one just caught my attention because it's Normandy, right. I'm a supporter of vets, that kind of stuff. I have vets in my family. And I watched that and I just sat there going, holy cow, that is too cool. Just go out and do these things, So, yeah, I think that's kind of how I'm viewing it right now, man, is just sort of hopefully get some people, out there doing it and giving them a place to go to either find some information from me or from someone else, because like I said, I'm still new to it and figuring things out too,
And there are more and more resources getting out there about rucking, which has been really cool to see. It's I feel like the rucking popularity is certainly starting to pick up. It's what I've observed. It's seasonal. It obviously peaks in the summer, and then in the winter when no one wants to get outside, it kind of goes back down. But outside of just the cyclical nature of it, more and more numbers are added to that sort of that cycle. So it's really cool to see more and more people rucking, and having these challenges makes it accessible for people to start. So it's really, really cool. I've completed the 5K, and I'll be submitting some information. We just recently did our first library ruck. We rucked there and back, picked up some books, so I added probably 10 pounds head and back. That was a fun thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's an awesome idea, man.
Yeah, it just like worked out. We're talking about going to the library, and I was like, let's walk. Let's ruck.
Yeah.
It was just like a progression. Like, this just makes sense. Let's do this. Let's move our bodies and educate ourselves at the same time. I think that this mission is excellent, Travis. Thanks so much for putting this on. I've already completed the challenge. I'm going to do a few more, and I'll be posting about them. But it was really nice meeting you, Travis. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Yeah,
no problem at all, man. And like I said, I appreciate you doing this and getting the word out there. And hopefully, man, we'll get a cure, Hopefully they'll come up with something to cure this thing, because I've said it before, the pain management thing is great if it works, but it's not fun, you know what I mean? It really isn't. So let's get out there, do some positive, fun stuff, have a good time doing it, and hopefully help some people,
Agreed. Thanks again, Travis. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right, that wraps up my conversation with Travis. You can sign up for the challenge yourself at ruckforward.com. That's ruckfwd.com. You can connect with him at ruckforward on Instagram. I'll drop the link in the show notes. If you want to reach out to me, head on over to theruckersedge.com or on Instagram at theruckersedgepod. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow or subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app so you're notified of new episodes. In next week's episode, I discuss several different rucking-related workouts in case you're a rucker looking to mix things up a bit. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks again for listening to this episode of The Rucker's Edge.